And this meeting is being recorded and it's also being streamed on YouTube on the nonprofit YouTube channel, Shooting Stars Foundation.
I just started the YouTube live, so everybody.
I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the waiting room so that people can freely join. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you.
Okay. If you don't need me anymore, can I go ahead and hop off the Zoom call now? Or should I stay?
Sure, Ansh. Leave it up to you.
Okay, cool. Bye.
We'll give it 2 more minutes, I think, Una, and then we can kick off. Right? Okay.
Sure.
Do we know how many people joined today? Close to 100.
I have 86 people online right now, including
on you're talking about Discord, right?
Discord.
Ansh just hopped off the line. He'd be the better person to know how many actually did join today.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I would say about, 80-90% of the people who attended yesterday joined, and some new people showed up. So I would say about 100 showed
We've
up.
got 93 participants so far. That's fabulous.
Yes, for an online Zoom call on a Sunday, this is very good.
And everybody is zoomed out, and yes, it's excellent.
and high school students, right?
High school students, yeah. Some
So
of
we
them
have
just woke up.
Yeah, so yesterday they had a session on biotechnology, Biotech 101, with Rohini Deshpande.
Oh.
So she hosted the session, and also Lab Exchange ambassadors presented the Lab Exchange platform to the high school students. Yeah.
So they're prime out already.
Yeah. Yes.
They are.
So, okay, I think, yeah, we are at 99 participants. I think let's get started. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the second session of StarHacks Equal Opportunity Online Hackathon, sponsored by Amgen. So my name is Una Krishnan. I work as an accounting manager at Amgen, and I'm also the chair of the ACC chapter of AISN, Amgen Indian Subcontinent Network, which has partnered with Shooting Stars Foundation, a nonprofit organization, to organize this hackathon for high school students. So yeah, so today I will be the MC for today. And the first session is a career panel, which is a career panel with 6 Amgen leaders from different functional towers who will be sharing their experiences and also answering the questions that all of you had asked on Pigeonhole. And this career panel will be moderated by Brian D'Souza, who is a Senior Manager Information Systems at Amgen. And Brian started with Amgen in 2008 as a programmer analyst and has been with Amgen for 12 years, taking on increasing levels of responsibility in the IS organization. He currently leads the technology transformation of Amgen's employee portal. And Brian has a master's degree from University of Southern California and is currently pursuing his MBA at UCLA. So he's also a student like all of you. So now I hand it over to Brian.
Thank you, Anna. So I guess I'll have to take some notes from all of you, how you manage homework. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Our distinguished guests taking the time out of your weekend and giving back so all of you can benefit from their experiences. On our panel today, I'll just go around and then I'll go into the profiles introduction. We have ALLYSON Nicholson. She is an executive director at Amgen in the Operations Improvement Department. We have Ching Lim, who's the executive director in research. We have MYRTA ATILES, who's an executive director at process development. We also have Peter Rodriguez, who is an executive director and plant manager. We have Mike Edmondson, who is a vice president of global field excellence and commercial diversity, inclusion and belonging. and Scott Bean, who is an executive director in information systems. Before I get into the detailed explanation of their profiles, just to give you all an idea of what is represented today, think of it as, you heard Rohini speak about what a biotech company is, but it takes a lot to make a medicine, a drug. And what we have represented today is all the way from research, which is I-Ching Lim, where we just think about the molecules, what might work, what might be cures, to the actual creation of those from process development to the manufacturing of it, which will be represented by Peter Rodriguez. And then how do you really manufacture that at scale and ensure that our products reach the patients via ALLYSON, as well as making sure that the folks that actually ensure these medicines reach to doctors via our sales reps, Mike Edmondson. All of this needs technology at the backbone and to try to get insights. And that's what Scott Bean would bring to the table. So please, put your questions in Pigeonhole if you have more questions. We have already taken a look at all of the great questions you've asked, and we hope that this session will be beneficial for you all. So as I start the introductions, let me get into our first panelist. And I-Ching, if you just want to raise your hand so everyone knows who you are. Thank you for being here, I-Ching Lim. She comes from Malaysia. Her hobbies were to be a naturalist, but in high school, just the time you all are, she had a chemistry class that changed her insight and sparked the love of that discipline. She has worked on a number of companies, including startups, and has been at Amgen for 15 years. And what is important to her is really contributing to research that will help build drugs against grievous illnesses. She has 2 children. She has kids, and she likes to spend time with them during her spare time. Thank you, I-Ching, for being here.
Thank you. I'm very much looking forward to this.
Thank you. Our next guest is ALLYSON NICHOLSON. Like I explained, she has been in Amgen for many years now. She's been part of the Supply Chain Excellence Innovation Group. In a nutshell, really ensuring that our drugs and the medicines we make can reach across sites. Amgen is in over 100 countries, and it's important to make sure that we can get these medicines out to our patients and to the different sites on time. She has also lived abroad as part of another site and has helped really had that global diverse experience. She has a bachelor's degree in law from University of Costa Rica and a master's degree MBA from Pepperdine University. She has 2 kids, and she is extremely happy to be here. Thank you, ALLYSON.
Thank you very much. Yeah, really looking forward to this.
Our next guest is Mike Edmondson. Like I explained, he is part of the Global Field Excellence team, and he has a dual role of also leading the Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging initiative within the Global Commercial Group. Essentially, what that means is, from a global field excellence, he ensures that our field reps as well as our medical reps are empowered to be able to get the word out about the novel medicines we have and ensure that doctors know what they can use these for. His hobbies are working out, traveling, games of family, as well as yoga and stretching routines. He has also been with Amgen for many years now and is married with 2 kids. Thank you, Mike, for making the time to be here.
Thanks, Brian. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Our next guest is MYRTA ATILES. MYRTA ATILES has been with Amgen since 2003, and her role is more in the process development group. And essentially what that is to ensure that as we come up with these novel medicines, how do you manufacture them at scale and make sure that we can consistently build those medicines so that there's no side effects for anyone. She has a bachelor's degree in industrial microbiology from the University of Puerto Rico and a master's degree in bacteriology from the University of Wisconsin. Again, she has been in different groups and has been in different other startups as well, and has a strong interest in research. Thank you, MYRTA, for making the time to be here.
Very excited to be here today. Thank you.
Our next guest is Peter Rodriguez. Peter Rodriguez is responsible for our Rhode Island plant. And what that essentially means is he's helping ensure that the drugs that we manufacture at that site, which is a very key site in terms of making sure that we make the medicines. Peter joined Amgen in 2012, and he has been in different roles, including the setup of our next generation biomanufacturing plant. And for those of you who are interested, I would highly recommend after this to go look up the Singapore facility of Amgen, which was the first of its kind in terms of biomanufacturing of the future. He has over 28 years of cross-functional leadership experience. And he has a bachelor's of science in chemical engineering from the University of Puerto Rico and an MBA from the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico. Thank you, Peter, for making the time today.
Thank you for the opportunity to join you guys.
And last but not the least, Scott Bean. He leads our information systems efforts in terms of support of analytics, search, AI, machine learning, data integration, information management services. Scott has also been with Amgen for a long time, 19 years, and has a variety of roles that he has played at Amgen. He is a key leader in introducing new technologies, and his team were early adopters of cloud technologies. In essence, essentially, Scott Bean is providing a lot of the insight through his team and the technologies so we can truly disrupt and find insights, whether it be in research or financial or commercial aspects. So thank you, Scott, for making the time. And I'm sure that the high school students will really learn from your experience. Thank you. Okay. So we had a number of pre-submitted questions, which we will kind of go to right now. Why don't I start off with Ai-Ching Lin? If you can talk about, we have an audience here that are, in high school. They're going to be in the next few years considering about options in terms of careers. What have you seen in terms of specialized professionals like doctors, et cetera, and them having a career at Amgen? How flexible is it? Can you speak to that?
It's very, very flexible. So as you've already heard, Amgen is a very diverse organization. It spans anywhere from the research, the basic research, all the way to marketing, etc. But we find that running clinical trials, designing clinical trials, and analyzing the data is very, very important. So for example, that is one area where we have strong MDs be part of our Amgen enterprise to help in those endeavors. So I would say that a good basic science background can lead you in many, many different directions, including, say, a PhD or an MBA, or in the case of the question, to an MD or an MD PhD. And we find that there is a huge need for those specialized degrees at Amgen.
Thank you, Ai. Would any of you on the panel want to add on based on your experience? I think that was pretty clear. I will go on to our next panelist, Allison. We had some pre-submitted questions around, the subject and curriculum that can help students build their career path in biotech. Do you mind shedding some light around that? What choices can you make?
Yeah, very similar to Ai's. Can you guys hear me well, Brian?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is real advice because I happen to have two children that are the same age as the attendants today. I have a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old. And what I always advise is, and from my own experience, is anything in the life sciences. So if you like biology, you like math, you like chemistry, physics, we will find a way to get you. But at the same time, don't shy away if you like law. I myself am an attorney, but we have a very vibrant legal department that combines both biology and law. And those specializations are incredibly useful to ensure that we protect our innovation. I would say also in supply chain, that is my home, analytics, anything related to computer science is going to be very important. We take lots of data and turn that into insights that allow us to see better what's happening with our products, what can we anticipate of the needs of our customers and patients. And that has a value that is not going to stop. Instead, it's going to increase tremendously. But also anything related to communications, the skills on being able to communicate clearly, complex ideas synthesized to be very digestible to broad audiences will make you successful in this industry and probably in any industry. So don't shy away from polishing the way you communicate, because that is gonna make you very successful in the future. That's it, Brian, for me.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you. And again, if any of you have follow-up questions, feel free to put it in Pigeonhole. We will be sourcing questions, additional questions from there as well towards the end. Our next question is for Mike. Mike, when you're at this age where you have a lot of choices, and you don't really know what you want to do, being in high school, did you know when you were at that age, what did you want to do at that juncture, and how did you approach making some career choices at that age?
That's a great question, Brian. And also, too, I can speak from my perspective as well as having two kids who have gone through high school and college, and now they're in the professional ranks. So my answer was I had no idea what I wanted to do. So probably not the best example. Okay. So for lack of a better an option for myself, I actually chose one of the military academies. I went to the Naval Academy, and no real passion for the military per se, other than the fact that the military is not a bad way to go if you have no idea what you want to do. Gives you a chance to figure some things out. And then from there, over time, I started to fine tune certain skills, communication skills, leadership skills, and so forth, which ended up being playing out very well. Looking for a career in pharmaceuticals, in particular in the commercial arena, as far as sales and marketing goes. I have two children, just speak to that briefly, who basically were in similar situations here, and that they were both very good students. They had no idea what they wanted to do. So long story short, my daughter ended up going to my alma mater, the Naval Academy. She was a computer engineer major and minored in Japanese. She loves languages, especially Japanese, Korean, and so forth there. That's kind of her personal passion, but she wanted to make sure she'd get paid for doing something, so she chose computer engineering for a major. Today, she's actually in the Navy. She's married to a classmate who's actually a pilot. So she's actually doing information professional work, which is more or less IT based. And my son, he also is pretty good in the sciences and so forth. He ended up going into initially marine engineering, and he switched over now to cybersecurity based on that. So I think all three of us, I probably didn't help their cause as far as trying to give them direction. I think none of us really knew what we wanted to do. Okay, but obviously, going to situations here where you basically perform your best, kind of created more options for yourself. And then as you start seeing some of your skill sets that you enjoy, they kind of identify themselves here. So probably not the best answer in the world as far as a more structured one, someone who always wanted to be a doctor, for example. But again, I think in high school, there's so many options before you. You really kind of get a feel for what some of your passions are. It'll kind of reveal themselves as you go through.
No, makes sense. Would you say, Mike, just as a follow-up to that, that you had mentors at that time or people that you could talk to? Does that help with just bouncing ideas off, or you think sometimes just going on your own is the right way?
No, tremendously here. Okay, so mentors, role models, and just kind of getting a chance to see what people were doing that intrigued me. I'll tell you a funny story. Like, for example, I was at the Naval Academy, and I had the choice of either going submarines or flying jets or sailing a boat. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I saw those guys wearing the Marine uniforms. They look really cool. So I figured if I could wear one of those uniforms here, I can get in good with the girls. So that was my great rationale behind that one. Didn't work so much with the girls here, but I definitely enjoyed doing the whole Marine Corps thing. But I did see people that I kind of admired, as far as how they carried themselves, their leadership, and just started asking them questions as far as their career. It was very helpful. And I'll say the same with my kids. So I was able to actually link them up with mentors, okay, in various areas. And as it turns out, they both had an interest in the information technology world. And so just meeting with people who actually were successful in those fields really helped give them direction as far as the way they wanted to go. So that was a great question, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully, all of you are paying attention, because these are real words, pearls of wisdom. So our next question is for MYRTA. Sometimes it's, hindsight is 20/20, and what is one advice you wish you had heard when you were in high school, looking back?
Well, I was thinking about what to say, and honestly, what comes to mind is buckle up. Life is a roller coaster with ups and downs, right? So never lose hope, right? And it's truly a roller coaster, right? So the advice I will give to you, sometimes we picture these perfect lives or perfect career, and nothing in life is perfect, but that's actually what makes it perfect, right? So please make sure that you follow your passion, that you never lose hope, that you know that there are going to be hard times and there are going to be better times, right? And every time after a hard time, there's always going to get better, right? So every time a big storm, there's always some coming after. So when I was in high school, I thought it was a perfect life. And life has turned, that you have ups and downs, and always embrace every hardship that you have in life is to prepare you for the future, is to make you a better person, to value what's really important in life, value your family, value your friends, follow your passions. There's not a perfect answer. Everybody's journey is different. Don't compare yourself to others. Because sometimes, we might get frustrated because we see people that are so driven or they're so clear, and you might feel a little bit confused on what you want to achieve. That is okay. Every journey is completely different. So follow your own journey and buckle up to make sure that you enjoy that ride.
Well said. Thank you, MYRTA, for that. It's really apt, I think, just with everything going on, not to really lose hope and, power on, right? I think
Exactly.
was the key. Thank you. Our next question is for Peter. And, I think just relating to, a lot of the high school students here, do you recollect what was life like for you when you were a high school student? Any anecdotes or things you remember?
Life in high school was really simple. In that, it was really about schoolwork, sports. So I played a lot of sports in that part of my life, especially basketball and baseball, that are the primary sports in Puerto Rico where I grew up. And I was very interested in science and math. And I went to a math and science school that they gave us a lot of work. So life went about, getting through homework, spending time with my friends. Many of those friends I still keep from the high school days, especially the very few ones that have been through the different phases of the roller coaster, like MYRTA says. And in reality, my aspiration was to be a doctor, right? And I was thinking, how am I gonna become a doctor? And I used to watch a lot of different shows that had to do with doctors. And then in the last summer, before going to university, I decided to go for engineering, and decided for an engineering career, especially chemical engineering. And that just comes to tell you that as long as you pick a path that you're passionate about, and really work really hard, eventually you'll be able to fulfill your dreams. I've had an amazing career, especially the last 8 years at Amgen. So I think some of the other panelists have mentioned, right, being passionate about what you do, working really hard, ensuring that you really learn from the different topics, but also enjoy as you go through, right, and make friends and get the most of the different experiences that are going to be in front of you.
Thank you, Peter. Just following up on that notion, right? So sometimes we have this plan that I shall do this, and if it isn't really that, do you ever have regrets that you wanted to be a doctor, or like you said, it's the passion that really drove towards, and you never look back on that time on, oh, I should have taken medicine?
For many years, I said that if I ever hit the Powerball, I'll probably quit engineering and go to medical school. But I think by now, with almost 30 years in the career, I'm happy with what I've been able to accomplish. I have a beautiful family and many good friends, and I've learned and met a lot of people along the way. So no regrets. Professionally speaking, I'm always curious about science and engineering, amazing in that aspect. And then it kind of took a very interesting twist, because my oldest son decided to be a doctor, and he's now in medical school. So maybe when he becomes a doctor, I'll get to see a little bit of what that looks like in real life.
Yeah, it's never too late. Thank you, Peter. Moving on to our next panelist, Scott. We had this very popular question. how, in your perspective and from your lens point, how have you seen technology transforming the discovery and development of medicine?
Yeah, I love this question. This is it's a really good question. The way I think about it is, if you think about a biotech company or a pharmaceutical company, there's really two products. You have the therapeutic, right, that eventually is going to make somebody better in some way, but then you also have the data that goes along with it that tells us that it's that it's safe and effective. So you think about COVID, right, and everybody's talking about a vaccine, right, and the reason why we don't have a vaccine immediately, right, you have to manufacture it, but the other thing you got to do is you got to make sure that it's going to be safe and effective. And so biotech companies, pharma companies are as much a data company as they are a science company. And so technology plays a really big part in that. Couple different areas I'd highlight. One is that technology is changing actually how we generate evidence in the first place, right? So if you think about the explosion of DNA and the amount of available information that we have now in the evidence generation space, it's really just totally changing the way that the science is being done. Even consumer technology is changing the way we do evidence generation. When you think about Apple Watches or Fitbits and other things that are now being introduced, into clinical trials and such, as a way to be able to have passive monitoring of patients. And so, always looking for a better way to collect and generate information. That's a big part of it. I would say on the data science side of things, we're also at this age where compute power and cloud computing is enabling us to be able to build bigger and more complex models that are substituting or supplementing things that we used to do in the physical lab, right? So you talk about in silico modeling, where you'd be able to effectively simulate a biological process and then understand how your medicines are interacting with that process. So huge amount of activity going on in the mathematics and data science, or the intersection of those two things. And then I would say the last, maybe the most important, is actually how we interact with patients and the technologies that we use there. So, in COVID times, I don't know if all of you have experienced telemedicine for the first time, a Zoom call with your doctor instead of showing up in person. And that's an example of how technology is changing things, but even how we deliver our medicines. So I think about one of our drugs, Neulasta, which is used in following chemotherapy. And we've built a on-body device that automatically injects the patient about 24 hours after they've had their chemotherapy. So why is that important, right? Well, because 24 hours after people have had their chemo, they feel terrible. And the last thing that they want to do is to get up and go into the doctor in order to be able to get another injection. And so it's a good example of where technology is really changing the quality of life of the patients that we serve. And so technology is everywhere in biotech. Its pervasiveness is one of the reasons why I was originally led to Amgen. And, I think its ability to benefit those that really have grievous illness is one of the reasons why I stay.
That was really, really helpful, Scott. Just a follow-up to what you just said, right? So given how fast the pace of technology is, we have a lot of, we're doing this event to promote STEM and, picking up technology. What kind of advice would you have in terms of, is it too early to learn some of these skills as you were in your high school? Or, how should the high school students approach some of these late, newer technologies that are disruptive much before they really use it in the workplace?
Yeah, Brian, that's a great question. And I'm so encouraged to see as many people as we have on the call as we do for a hackathon. One thing that occurs to me is I've heard pop stars interviewed about, like, how do I get into show business, or how do I get into music? And very often their answer is, wherever you are, take every opportunity that you have to act, to sing, to do your passion, right? So, If you're in a town that has community theater, go do that. If you go to a church, sing in the choir, right? And the advice is always just practice your passion as quickly and as early and as often as you can. And the cool thing about technology is there's tons of opportunities. So encouraged to see you guys here on this. I mean, there are a couple things that I thought, even for high schoolers, there's a lot of opportunity. So for those that are in schools, for example, that have the Cyber Patriot program, which is a club on high school and even middle school campuses that teach about cyber protection. If you have such a thing at your school, totally check that out. There are also clubs that span high schools. So if you don't have one at yours, you could check that out. There are a number of places where professionals sort of tune their skills, but they're open to everybody. So if you look at like HackerRank as an example, they have tons of exercises out there that are super practical and super useful. And more companies are actually using those even to do early interviews. In the data science space, there's Kaggle competitions. So, I mean, just Google online for that sort of stuff, and you'll find a ton of different opportunities. So,
very, very insightful. Thank you, Scott.
And Scott, one of the topics, sorry to interrupt, one of the topics for the hackathon is improve access to healthcare. So the high school kids have an opportunity to, try something new.
Yeah, that's awesome. There are also a lot of Hacker for Good or Data Science for Good type organizations that are out there that will provide you with really good data sets for being able to, to look at environmental impact and social justice impact and other things. And so lots of great resources out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Let's kind of shift gears and kind of talk about, career, and then ultimately get to like, why do each of you love what you do? So my next question is for you, Allison. As you look back and, you have a number of things that have to work out as you approach a career, but there are certain attributes that are very, very key as you approach. And what would you say that those key attributes have been for you as you approached your career and that have helped you along this journey?
Well, yeah, and that also has to do with a little bit of the formation you have. So I am originally from Costa Rica. So for those that have had the opportunity to visit, you probably know we're very welcoming of people, friendly, reaching out, building a network. So that applying that naturally is very incredibly useful in the business world. It doesn't matter the industry. You just gotta make sure that you keep that in mind. The second thing is I come from a family that worked really hard for what they had. My dad had a foundry, one of the first foundries in Central America, and he had to work really hard for that. As a almost self-made engineer, he had to work every day of his life to advance his industry, and he did. So that's an excellent role model. And so never giving up is a particularly important thing that helps you, especially at Amgen, where if you research our goals and objectives and values, you'll see that compete intensely and win is very important. And so with that also comes, don't easily take no for an answer. There's gotta be a way to do things. So being able to apply innovation to the things we do is particularly important to differentiate. And Amgen is a company that values that tremendously because our mission is really to serve patients. And in order for us to serve those patients, we gotta constantly think about how what we do will be different for them to really cause the impact we want. And that goes from the wonderful research that I is part of to the development of that research into medicines, which is what MYRTA does, to making those medicines, which is Peter doing it. And then Mike, of course, making sure that we're able to get to the right doctors with the right message. And so if you tie it all together, what also drives somebody in an industry or in a job and makes them committed and successful and have a focus and a determination is the mission of the company. And Amgen, I've been in many industries, from banking to food industry, to nonprofit, to consulting. But with Amgen in particular, what you get is a true mission that drives what we do. In operations, that mission is every patient, every time. In my case, it is about ensuring that the products get to where they need to go in the supply chain, from raw materials all the way to the first economic customer and ultimately to patients. And getting in the morning with that mission very clear in your mind drives mountains, and it makes a job very different all the time, because there is nothing static about innovating. And that's for me.
No, that's really, really helpful. I think you just mentioned, I think having those key ideals as you approach your career is very important, right? Because if you can be consistent, success will come your way through perseverance.
That's right.
Thank you, Allison. My next question.
If I may add, I think just, having an open mind, and some of the panelists have already touched upon it, but I think having an open mind and curiosity just really goes a very, very long way. And even if it doesn't seem to be directly involved in science, again, you've heard that there's so many different things which can feed in, just pursue what you are passionate about, stay grounded, stay curious, don't give up. But again, just be open, realize that it doesn't have to be, it doesn't just have to be chemistry, it can be many different things, for example.
No, thank you. That is really, really helpful. And hopefully all of you are taking some furious notes, because these are just great advice from, folks that have really lived through a career and successful in their individual expertise areas. My next question is for you, Mike. As we thought about putting this event together with the Shooting Stars and Owners leadership, along with our sponsor Hirsch, a key aspect was we need to make inroads of how we promote STEM and really diversity and inclusion. One of the aspects of what you do at Amgen is also promoting diversity and inclusion. And I would be really curious to hear from your perspective, how important you think it is to work in diverse teams and really benefiting from that experience.
No doubt. I think it's super important. And I can tell from a personal experience at home with my daughter. So as you know, women in STEM, in particular IT, is not a high percentage thing. Okay, and I'll give you an example. My daughter, she was at the Naval Academy, which I think the most difficult major was computer engineering, which at that school was a combination of computer science and electrical engineering. And so in a class, in her class, there were about 17 people taking that major in her class. Out of 17 people, she was only one of two women in the class. And the other person was a Russian exchange student, female, and others were all males. I say that to you because after her first year, she was strongly discouraged, from taking that major, saying it was very challenging, it was going to be tough, a lot of late night hours. And over time, she basically spent a lot of mornings at 3 o'clock in the morning studying. And eventually she figured it out. Her last 2 years, she did great. She was on a dean's list and that kind of thing, but she struggled the first 2 years. What she found out afterwards, though, was that a lot of the guys, and they told her afterwards, were having study groups together, and they weren't included. So she had to figure out on her own, and so did this other young lady, but then they found out, a few years later, that all the guys were having study groups together. And the guidance counselor strongly discouraged her from actually taking that major, saying that take something more reasonable, maybe a language major, maybe political science. And the way she's wired, she's the kind of person who tells you can't do something that actually is the best thing for her. That just motivated her to prove him wrong. But I share that story with you. When we talk about diversity, inclusion, and STEM, I think that there's some preconceived notions, as far as that goes. But I think that the opportunity is incredible. If you look at the Googles, look at the top companies that are out there, and they have some very strong initiatives. I know Intel is another one, but very strong initiatives here as far as recruiting for gender as well as minorities in the area. And the reality is, and it's been proven through various sources, whether it's the big companies, Deloitte, McKinsey, all kinds of studies showing that the more diverse the workforce is, the more you can tap into, and ultimately it's a better business case, as far as success overall. So I think that in order to really fully embrace the power of this country, for example, or Amgen in particular, diversity, inclusion, increasing that is going to be super important because obviously, diverse groups build stronger, more effective teams here. And if you don't, you're going to miss out. And no doubt, we're seeing more and more companies are recognizing the importance of it and they're showing the success through that. So maybe hopefully that kind of gives you a feel for it, and yeah, I can clarify that if you want, but that's just a personal example that I relate to.
No, it's great, and I think just something as you are in different teams, really think about how you work with different things, and it's always not just about what you bring to the table, but there's a lot of diverse experience that can have diversity of thought that you can have in your teams as well, right? So you might not be necessarily the one that is the best programmer, but you might be the one that might have a different way of thinking of that problem, and that I think spawns creativity. Would you say that, Mike?
Exactly. We see that in sciences. We see even in a commercial world, whether it's marketing. Keep in mind that our mission is to serve patients, and so for us to better understand that, we've got a very diverse patient base and customer base. So for us to fully understand and leverage that, we have to have a more diverse employee base to better relate to them, whether it's marketing or even translating our information of our products to patients, so it makes sense to them, whether it's gender based, whether it's ethnic based here. So again, there's some very strong business reasons for that, no doubt. But ultimately here, besides being the right thing to do, okay, it's definitely been proven to drive business here. So many good reasons for that.
I would like to add to those comments is precisely everything is about perspective in life. And you are limited by the experiences that you have lived. So that will give you a limited perspective. So when you start listening to others, then you start seeing other points of view. So what that's going to do is going to expand your perspective on a given topic. So at the end, you're going to have more relevant information to make you do better decisions, right? So that's what diversity is about. You start listening to other voices. We all have a voice. We all have a perspective. So if we share the different points of views, at the end of the day, we're going to have a greater database, right? If we put it in Scott's perspective, right? We have a greater database that is going to allow us to do better decisions, right? And come up with better results and innovation. So diversity is key for the success in every aspect of our lives.
Thank you, MYRTA. Our next question, Peter, if you could take this one. In your long career, distinguished career, what have you seen as, a scientific or technology trend that truly, disrupted and something that maybe you didn't expect, right? And has had a huge impact in your career? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, in manufacturing, right? The area where I work, there's two examples. One of them is just the onset of biologics, right? In the 70s and 80s, many of the medications were made out of synthetic sources, right? So you needed chemicals and very intense, chemically complex processes to develop medication, right? And from the 80s, we went more into biotechnology, right, where we're using life sources and different ways of understanding microbiology and genetic engineering to develop new therapies, right? So that in itself is a massive change that influenced not only me, but many of the people that are in this call, right? The way we think about health and life sciences. Within biologics, the second development that marked especially my career is the transition of molecules to be using the new manufacturing technologies, such as disposable technologies, right? So just to give a little bit of context, we use a lot of equipment, right, in the manufacturing space, and these new technologies essentially enable us to build plants that are a fifth of the size, to be able to build them in half of the time, and then to be able to make medicines that are going to cost us a third of the cost, right? So it's a dramatic change that has come with those new technologies, and they enable us to then bring medicines forward faster to patients, be able to build plants in places that are atypical, new locations, new approaches, just building these medicines and be able to take them to patients a lot faster. So those are two examples of things that have happened in maybe the last 10, 15 years that are dramatic for our industry.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. This next question, before we move to the next segment from Pigeonhole, would be, I think, all of you, and maybe we can go around, and maybe MYRTA, if you could start, and then I'll switch gears. You're in a particular area of your journey, and like you've taken a particular subject matter that you're an expert of. why do you love, and why do you love what you do? And I think if you could relate that so our students can kind of understand from each of your vantage points for our panel, why you love what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I love what I do because I know it's impacting the lives of so many people in a positive way. You know that anytime you go to a doctor or you have a sick family member, all you want is to make sure that you can get better. And then knowing that we're working for solutions that are going to make people feel better about any grievous illness that they might be suffering, it gives you a great sense of pride. Why do I do it? And then I relate when I was a young kid. I used to tell my mom when I did not know what I wanted to study, I said, you know what? I want to help society. I feel that I have been blessed. So I really want to help society somehow, but I have no idea. And my mom was telling me the other day, I'm like, you see that what you're doing now is actually helping society, right? So life takes you there in a kind of a weird way, right? Because when I started, I'm a microbiologist. Now I'm leading a team that is 80% engineers. I never thought, because I didn't want to be an engineer when I was young. So it's through the experiences and hard work, being open-minded, as I think I mentioned earlier, right? And keep learning, that curiosity, so you never stop learning and making sure that what you do is doing well to others. It just gives you a great sense of pride, and it gives you the energy to never give up, work as hard as you can because you have a good purpose, right? And as Allison mentioned, is serving every patient every time. I tell you, I have never seen people work so hard just to make sure that every patient literally have the medicines from Amgen every time. So that gives you great sense of pride.
Thank you, MYRTA. That's very, very powerful. Thank you. Scott, do you want to take a stab at that in terms of your area and technology, and why do you love what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I just love solving hard technical problems. I guess I'm a geek's geek or a nerd's nerd. Like, I love the fact that the vast majority of the people, technology is just like magic, right? Like, they don't even understand the basics of how it works. And working with people every day that can come in and innovate with technology, I just get excited with. And maybe there are people on the call that are like that, right? It's almost its own secret society, right? Because it's just so different than what the mainstream population understands in terms of technology. And so that's it for me. I just like the work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, that's helpful. I think there are a lot, as the students get into the hackathon, these, I think, very important words of advice. Allison, would you like to take a stab at, in terms of your area? You've done a number of different things. Why do you love what you do?
Oh, well, I said it a little bit at the beginning because what I do, I always been involved in ensuring that the patients get medicines one way or the other. So I was in IS. I started Amgen, focused on the financial business part of the house, and it's still there. There was a huge connection. Then I moved to do clinical. And so clinical supply is even that much more important because these patients see the participation in their trial as a last hope, especially for the type of medicines that Amgen does. So you will do anything and everything to make sure that those medicines are going to have the supply as expected. We should never make the headlines because the product is not there. So when you have that burden on your shoulders, you move mountains. And that's what I like. And then the second thing is that I believe in Amgen's culture as a very excellent place to innovate, reinvent yourself constantly. And so for me, it's great because it keeps me really busy, out of trouble, and getting a lot of fulfillment with the work we do. It matters. And because it matters, that's what drives me every day.
Thank you, Allison. Ai-Ching, do you want to take a stab at that? Coming from a pure research, why do you love what you do?
Well, the other panelists have already touched on so much already, but yeah, if we think about the pure research part of it, I'm not a chemist any longer. I'm a sorry excuse for chemists. Instead, I work on actually a lot of other disciplines, and the people in my group come from many different disciplines: molecular biology, structural biology, protein biochemistry. And so what I really love is we get to work on these very basic, important problems. As Allison said, she's trying to deliver medicines to every patient every time. So I'm working on oncology problems, so when I think about cancer or inflammation, so asthma, we are looking at the very early molecules, but at the end of the journey, we think that we will be making a difference in terms of making drugs for these, very grievous illnesses. And so I think what makes me excited is to have that constant interweaving where you're really learning some of the basic biology and working on early molecules, but you can translate it all the way to, to seeing how you could be helping people. And the other thing is, again, as Allison said, you're working with great teams. You're working with people who have a passion for what they do. You're working with people who are smarter than you are in, their individual fields. And so you're just excited to go in and be part of this team.
I have a question for 18. You're in research, right? Like, do you need a lot of patience to be in research? Because it's...
Yes. So unfortunately, or fortunately, there's always the tagline about genius being, 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration, or even 1% or 99%. So yes, I think that you realize that your hypotheses may not be correct, that the experiments aren't working. But again, hopefully as a team, you get to brainstorm, you get to work with smart people, you all kind of work together, and the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. But yeah, some days stuff isn't really working. And as, again, the panelists have said, your journey is going to whine and you just can't give up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, for the question. Thank you, for your insight. Mike, if you'd like to take a stab, and followed by Peter on why do you like what you do?
Sure. There's no saying that when you love what you do and you find your passion, you never work a day in your life. And for a while, I struggled with that. But then I thought about things I really enjoyed doing, from kind of like Peter, growing up playing sports, and the whole competitive aspect, as well as leading teams to overcome challenges. And I think back to raising my kids, and something as simple as helping my daughter, use her as an example again, learn how to ride a bike. Just the thrill she had when she finally overcame that challenge of being able to get it for the first time, and the joy she got. I kind of found that was my joy, and I use that same type of motivation here in my world as far as commercial. When it comes to really helping people overcome things they didn't think it was possible. Okay, and I kind of grew up in the sales world, so basically overcoming various objectives, various challenges to see they could do more than they thought they could in the beginning became a real passion for me. So and no doubt that stayed with me my entire career. So to me, it's not working a day, because I've always get a chance to basically overcome or solve a problem, which we have plenty of those in our world. And that's what makes it fun. But also to lead teams to specific objectives here to me is really fun. So that's kind of my deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And Peter, if you want to round that up in terms of why you like what you do.
Yeah, I would say that in manufacturing, we have the honor and the privilege of making the science become tangible, right? And by making the product happen through the different phases of our network, we eventually fulfill that every patient, every time mission of delivering drugs to patients, right? So the fact that I've had the honor of having somebody approach me and tell me, hey, because of the drug that you were working on, the quality of life of a family member, and in turn the quality of life of everybody in our family has changed, right, for the better. It's an incredible honor. I've also had the opportunity of having very close people in my life, like my late mother. She had a procedure once when we had her with us, where she had used a medical device that was actually made in the very same plant that I was working, right? And to know that that's the team that I was supporting made a product that my mom was using, and I had the opportunity of stopping that production line and personally thanking them for improving my mother's lives. I mean, you don't get that opportunity anywhere else, right? Where unless you're in the life sciences space, and all of the different companies, including Amgen, right? We're now with the pandemic and a huge race, right, to deliver vaccines and treatments to deal with this pandemic. And it doesn't matter eventually who really makes it, as long as we make that big difference for society, which is what we're all after, right? So ultimately, same as our mission, we're here to serve, and just the satisfaction of making a difference is what drives me.
Thank you, Peter. As we move to the next segment, and I think good things. I didn't even realize how time's flying, right? So just to move things along, we had a number of questions. I'm going to summarize, and we can probably one or two of you taking a stab, and I'll call on you. Meanwhile, if there's any questions in the audience and you'd like to ask it live, if you don't mind using the raise hand feature, so if we have some time at the end, we can probably take one or two questions live. So just go ahead and raise your hand if you do intend. One question that we had on, I think, if you could take this, Scott, it was more around the students were asking around like the role of collaboration and open source projects, and whether in a regular field like biotech, is that more the norm versus the exception, and how do you see that changing in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would say I'd answer this question differently now than I would 15 years ago. The open source community is a thriving part of what we do from an innovation perspective, both in terms of contributing back, but also it's a huge accelerator for companies to be able to leverage open source technologies. And so it's a big part of what we do. And I think especially sort of in the world of modern architectures, cloud architectures especially, the trend for, the giants to open source their, the Googles, Facebook, Amazons of the world, to open source that in order to be able to generate innovation in general is a pretty common thing these days. So.
Oh, thank you, Scott. This next question, and then the rest of you could add on. One of the themes, and I'm combining a few questions, is if you're thinking of really getting into biotechnology, what kind of university majors should you think about? What kind of opportunities should students think about as they're in high school and college to prepare themselves for a potential career in biotechnology?
And I would actually say that you may, and some of the panelists have touched upon this, I think having an open mind is really, is very, very powerful. So obviously, degrees in the traditional science, the STEM fields, such as biology or physics, etc., are relevant. But I would also say that you don't have to go to a quote unquote science-heavy school. For example, I went to a liberal arts college on purpose because I actually wanted to take a lot of other classes. And so you do have to have the basic foundation of math and biology and chemistry. But I would say that there's lots of time in a high school or in a college student's life to explore, to actually follow your passion, and then take it where you need it to go. And the panelists have also said there are people from all sorts of different backgrounds. So I would say that, yes, I think there are strong STEM schools that could help you in your journey. But I would also say, continue to be open.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add on to that?
Yeah, I will add to that, and again, it's kind of repeating what people have said already. But like you heard, biotech is a chimera, right? So the first thing is understand what you love to do and do that very well, right? So just make sure that whatever is it that you call as your passion, try to be the best on what you're good at. The second one is be open to continue learning. We always gonna learn something new, and life will take you there, right? Your expertise, you're gonna be given roles because you're gonna be shining based on your opportunities and your leadership attributes, etc. So how then you start opening that door to get the opportunity to start in a company like Amgen? Focus on getting involved. get involved early, be a leader at your high school, be part of a math club or anything in your community. Show leadership, show that you care, that it's not just going to the classes and taking the exams, that you can take on some additional experiences that is gonna make you grow as a person and as a leader. Because as the field becomes more competitive, we're looking for those type of attributes from different students that are just more than going to school, but getting involved, make a difference in little things, outside of your normal classes. That will be my advice.
Thank you, MYRTA. I think we have room for maybe 2 or 3 more questions as we wrap up. Allison, this next one's for you, right? From your vantage point, you've been in this industry for quite some time. And what would you say the future of biotech is? And what are the newest therapies and products that you're looking forward to? And how do you think that the students of the future, our future here, these high school students should prepare themselves as they, read about these products and how they might change the, our world of the future?
Yeah, I think the future is a combination between hard science and analytics. So I think if we could grab I and Scott and merge them together, you get us the super professional of the future. Just because it's going to become more personalized medicine. When most of the generation of the people that are here in the panel for you, we used to think of medicines that were genetically engineered to go into the cells and do something different and alter the course of a disease. Well, we have that today. We even have a fantastic medicine at Amgen called Imlagic, that is a modified virus. But at the same time, in the future, is going to be, what is it that I, as a patient, ALLYSON needs with my genetic makeup that will be made for me to make me feel better and get over my disease. So when you look at that, the excitement of that is going to be maybe eradicating some diseases in the future. Amgen is very committed to eliminating cancer. But lastly, it would also mean, as we can become more and more digitalized, that along with physical product, we will have to deliver digital product as well. And so that also is going to change the work that Scott does, the work that you do, Brian, the work that I do in supply chain, because it's not only the product, but also the serial code behind it and what information comes in it. So that's, to me, what the future brings. Very exciting.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think I'll get to the one final question of Pigeonhole and then round it up with a piece of advice from all of you. This next question, I think, Mike, if you could take a stab, and Peter, feel free to add on. As the research, and, I think we talk a lot about societal good and making sure that we can apply technology and, research for the betterment. As you see that biotechnology research becomes more accessible, how has that affected the cost and the design and substances used for it? And again, this came from the students, so kudos to you all for asking these great, insightful questions. So Mike and Peter, if you can take a stab at this.
Yeah, so I'll address it from the commercial side. And I guess when we talk about cost here, we always kind of place the word value. And
Right.
so we believe that Amgen, we're kind of on the cutting edge when it comes to finding solutions for unmet medical needs. And obviously our goal is to do it as efficiently as possible to as broad a patient base as possible to help those specific diseases. So I think that biotechnology is like the next frontier, okay, in regards to addressing some of those needs. And if we do that in an effective manner, okay, I think that we reduce costs. We look at overall hospitalization, so on and so forth. So a much longer answer is required for that. But just my initial reaction is that I think that focusing on bringing great solutions to unmet needs now will reduce overall cost to the system and hopefully to the individual going forward. So I'll stop there and I'll defer.
Yeah, I think that from an operations, especially manufacturing standpoint, we are tasked with making medicines in a much more compressed space, smaller cost of manufacturing, so that we can enable the value that Mike is talking about, right? The main thing that I think it's also important to pay attention to is that by looking at new technologies, then we can also improve our carbon footprint, right? So we are definitely paying a lot of attention to the environmental consequences of our work. and looking to manufacturing those medicines using less fossil fuels, less water, less chemicals, and making those in smaller footprints so that our eventual environmental consequences are a lot better. And I think we've made a lot of progress at Amgen in pursuing those efforts over the last 5 to 7 years.
Thank you, Peter. I know we're over time, so I'm going to just give it as maybe one takeaway from each of you, going rapid fire, 30 seconds. If there's one thing that our high school student friends here should take away from this session, what would that be? And we'll start with and we'll go in order.
So everybody said such insightful things to get ready. But what I would say is that I'm always reminded of a quote from Bill Nye, the Science Guy, which is, everyone you meet knows something that you don't. And so you are always going to be learning, just keep reaching out to people, stay curious, just keep learning.
Okay, Allison?
Yes, for me, is a little bit of advice, long-term, short-term. Short-term is stay focused. The pandemic will pass, and this shall pass, and you will get to your friends quickly. And the most important advice is listen to science. Whatever science you're going to be focusing on, listen to that and stay on course.
MYRTA?
Yeah, first of all, I want to congratulate those students because they're taking the first step. Being here, listening to us is a great sign of the hope for the future, right? Because you could be doing so many other things and then just really trying to understand and learn how you're going to become professionals in the future. I really want to congratulate you on that. And the other thing is be resilient, right? The future is bright. Be resilient. There are going to be tough times in the way, but that's going to make you stronger, right? So never lose the hope and stay at it. Work hard. Thank you.
Mike?
I would say basically find your passion, follow your passion, and in a nutshell, be curious. And just you guys being on this call today is an example of that. We encouraged our kids for sure to be curious, learn as much as possible. And today you guys are basically modeling that behavior. So you're doing the right thing and stay on that path. Great talking to you guys today.
Thank you, Mike. Peter?
Thank you for the opportunity to interact with you. I think that two main things come to mind. First of all, study really hard, right? Results in your grades and the way you handle school are going to be the opening card to continue to fulfill your dreams. And then the second is like every interaction that you have, like I said, it's an opportunity to make a difference in somebody else's life. So maximize that opportunity, be kind, be respectful and humble, and definitely you'll continue to see good things happening for you and those around you.
Scott?
Well, I'd say for those that have a passion in this space, there are absolutely companies out there that will be interested to hire you and create opportunities for you. I'd say being a father of 2 daughters, I'll speak to the women on the call and say, kick the boys' butt in the hackathon, and boys, make it hard for them to do that. Hope you guys have a good time with that.
Thank you. That's really, very powerful. It's been a pleasure, all of the insightful questions from all of you high school students, from our panel. We have over 70 years on average of experience here at Amgen. It is a collective pearls of wisdom. And I think even me being in Amgen for quite some time learned quite a lot. So thank you once again for taking the time from your weekends. Thank you.
Lovely session, Brian. Well done. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Brian, I just wanted to say a couple of words. Brian, there's one question for you. What is your advice and one takeaway for the participants?
Oh, my advice? Well, yes. I guess there's no shortcut to hard work, right? I think the harder you work, the better the outcome is. Put yourself through resilience, and even if there's adversity, I would say power through it, because there are better things, after that, right? So.
All right, thank you.
Best of luck. And again, winning is not everything, right? It's the effort that matters, not just winning. So don't lose sight of that.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian, for moderating this panel discussion, preparing for it, and making sure that we can bring this to the participants here today. And I'd also like to thank all the panelists for taking their time on a Sunday to join us and share their experience and inspire all the high school students here. Thank you very much. We're very grateful for that. And I'd like to thank the Technology Career Development Council headed by Jayanti Subramani, who's helped us, reach out and get the panelists. Thank you, Jayanti, for all the support. And I'd like to have all the, the participants, if you can turn your video on. I think Shooting Stars Foundation would like to take a picture with the panelists and with the participants. So participants, if you can turn your videos on, that would be great. Awesome. Yeah.
And panelists, we did not make up the 100 count. These are real high school students.
Great.
They love to be here. Thank you so much. This has been very good. Thank you. Okay, we're done, Una.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, panelists.
Thanks, Brian. Great job, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Yeah. Participants, we now move on to our next session, which is scavenger hunt on Lab Exchange platform. So we have our next presenter, Ashley Young, who you met yesterday as well. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, everyone. Nice to join and nice to see all your faces while you have your videos on. Yesterday, I joined with the two teachers, Mary Lou and Deborah O'Reilly, to just preview the Lab Exchange platform with you. Today, we're going to dig in a little bit more and find some resources. So as a reminder, Lab Exchange is funded by the Amgen Foundation, built by a team at Harvard, and it has a really big collection of resources related to science education, including laboratory simulations, one of which you previewed yesterday about micropipetting. So the first thing I need you to do, and I will share my screen to help with this, is open up your browser of choice and go to labexchange.org. All right, are you all able to see my screen? Great, so this is the URL again. I'll pop it into the chat, but labexchange.org. Or Una, can you pop it into the chat?
Okay, labexchange.org, right?
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Perfect. Oh, here I found the chat again. I had lost it. There we go. Okay, so those of you who still have your videos, can you show me a thumbs up if you are here at labexchange.org? Great, thank you. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is just scroll down, look around a little bit. You can see that this website is made for learners and educators. So I'm a former high school biology teacher myself, so I'm very happy to be joining you today and very happy to be working for the Amgen Foundation. This website is free to everyone, and we're really proud of being able to share high quality content with the world. So we're going to start by just jumping into the library. So if you can see my mouse in the top left corner of your screen, I want you to look at these menu options and click to library. Right here. Okay, thumbs up if you're here. All right, so as a reminder, I looked here on the top left menu and clicked library. So this is a big collection of educational resources related to STEM content. The first thing I want to show you is there's a lot of different topics that you can find content for on LabXchange. You can find it without having an account. If you do have an account, which is free, you're able to favorite some of your most interesting content to you so that you can come back and find it later. I say that because notice that there's over 6,000 things here in this library, and there's new content being added every day. So LabXchange, the team at Harvard, they partner with a lot of big names in science education. So some of you may have heard of Khan Academy. Anybody use Khan Academy? They're great. The Amgen Foundation is also a big fan and supporter of Khan Academy. But there are a lot of other organizations out there that also create some great content, and they have provided their content to LabXchange so you can find everything you need in one place. So I was showing you that there's a lot of different subjects you can search for content for on LabXchange. Biological sciences has the most content right now. And that's because, of course, Amgen is a biotechnology company, and our team at Harvard who have built out LabXchange, many of them are molecular biologists. So it's really their specialty. So we have some great simulations, if you remember yesterday, that we were looking at, built by LabXchange. So I'm just showing how you can quickly filter what resources are here to pull up some resources that you're interested in. So yesterday we were looking at one of these simulations, and you might notice also that they exist in 12 different languages. So if you happen to speak another language on top of English, this might be helpful for you. So I have a question for you prepared. So if everybody is in the library, remember we got here by clicking library from the top left. My first question is, can you search coronavirus?
Shall I? Sorry, Ashley. I can share the Kahoot, and
that would be
they
great.
can, yeah, they can play on it. Yeah, we set it up and it's all ready to go.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing my screen. If everyone's in the library, keep that tab open, and Una, I'll let you share so we can set up the Kahoot.
Sure, yeah. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Participants, just like yesterday, so just like yesterday, you can go to kahoot.it and enter the PIN number so you can start playing the scavenger hunt.
Awesome, thank you. So I always used to tell my students before we started a game of Kahoot, make sure to stretch so you're ready, right? Because you have to click fast. And I know you guys have been sitting in front of your screens.
So I can call out the PIN number. It's 8340973.
And here it is in the chat as well. Oops. To everyone.
So I see 71 participants now on the Zoom and about 38 on the Kahoot. Who was, joining, I'd like to ask you to join as soon as possible, and then let's get started. So like yesterday, you will see the question on the screen and the answer choices, and you have to go now and I believe you're all probably already on the labexchange.org website. So if you can search, based on the questions, if you can do the searches, and based on the searches, you have to answer the questions on your phone. So the answers will be in different colors. So whatever is the right answer, you have to click on that color on your phone. So it's like a scavenger hunt. You go find it on Lab Exchange, and then you answer the question. And so you have 60 seconds to answer each question. All right, let's get started. So, you can join even after we start the game. Search coronavirus in Lab Exchange. What is the title of a coronavirus learning pathway in the LXC library?
And that's just an abbreviation for Lab Exchange.
Yeah. Ashley, I'll let you take on the questions from here on.
Thank you, Anna. And 3, 2, 1, time.
All right.
So correct answer, if you search coronavirus in the library, you should see a collection of resources called a pathway that's about coronavirus and how it takes you a little bit into the story about its origins. From bats and how it transferred over to humans. And then now, of course, we're in a pandemic right now. So first question, looks like 10 people got it right. And let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Yeah, and I also wanted to highlight the pathway, right? Because there are different resources. In this particular one, we're searching for a pathway which has got a collection of resources on a particular topic. So Advik is on the lead on this question.
All right, how many structural biology resources are in the Lab Exchange library? So my hint would be try searching the subject area and find structural biology in the subject area filter. All right, getting close to time. There we go. All right, yeah, 17 got that right. So if you search by subject area and find under biological sciences, structural biology is a subcategory. And there's 381 resources just about structural biology. Great, thank you.
So Nicole is on the leaderboard now.
Switching it up.
Mm-hmm.
Which organization has content about learning Python on Lab Exchange? So you can try searching Python, which is a programming language, in the search bar at the top. And then see who made that content out of these three choices. 3, 2, 1. All right, correct answer was Oklahoma Science Project. So if you looked at Python in the library and looked at some of the content that came up, it was created by Oklahoma Science Project. So it looks like 27 of you guys got that correct.
I see the number of people getting it right increasing, which means they're becoming familiar with the platform.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Nicole's still in the lead.
Yeah.
All right, can you find a video featuring an Amgen executive on Lab Exchange? It's a tough one. So these answer choices are 3 people who work at Amgen. Try and see if you can find if there's a video with one of them in it on Lab Exchange. Get those answers in. All right. Yep. So David Reese, so he's one that you didn't hear from so far, right? You heard from the other 2 in some of the talks that I've seen this weekend. But if you want to hear from David Reese, he's the head of research and development, I believe, for Amgen, which is an incredible position. He's a very smart man who works with a lot of other people that are at the top of the field in biotechnology. So if you want to hear from him, there's a video on Lab Exchange where he talks about a little bit about his job, a little bit about the coronavirus as it was filmed recently, and how he thinks biotech can help. So great video. All right, score is looking good. Change in the scoreboard. Next question. If you search CRISPR in the Lab Exchange library, how many results come up? Of course, CRISPR is an interesting topic this week, right? Some of you have seen, hopefully, the Nobel Prize Award went to 2 chemists who worked on CRISPR in their lab. And it was incredible because it was 2 women chemists. So some girl power there in science.
That's what Scott Bean was encouraging during the panel discussion. It was like, girls, get on the technology field.
Mm-hmm. Everyone belongs in science. Ten more seconds to get those answers in. All right, so 158 resources. So if you've been hearing the word CRISPR and you don't know what it is, you can go to Lab Exchange and learn more, okay? All right. Oh, it was 159. Thank you, Adrian. Good catch. So Lab Exchange keeps adding new content. So when you visit, it grows, the library grows. So thank you for that correction. All right, good job, Aryan in first place. Next question. What is the name of the cluster about preparing for college? So my tips would be look at subject area and narrow down by preparing for college, and then look at content type and filter by cluster. 3, 2, 1. All right. Yep. So this is an organization that helps students like yourself that are in high school learn more about college. It includes financial aid resources, learning about scholarships that are out there, choosing a major, all kinds of really interesting and helpful resources. So definitely recommend you go back to this one.
Smiling.
Smiley face in the lead. All right, how many special guests are featured in the Career Day video on Lab Exchange? So try to find this video in the resource library and then read the description to get the right answer. All right. So if you found that, there were 6 scientists that are featured in that video talking about their jobs as a scientist. Smiley face. Killing it. Great job. In the People tab, can you find how many people have signed up to be mentors on Lab Exchange? So remember how we found the library in the top left? Look at that menu and try to find people. Then you have to look at the roles that they have and filter by mentor. So what this is people like myself or scientists at Amgen and elsewhere have a Lab Exchange account and they made their profile public so that students like you can reach out and ask them to mentor you.
So as we also heard from the panelists, mentoring is a very important aspect that's played a key role for success of many people. And, and this is a great resource for you to, find mentors, scientists who are mentors as well.
So Andrew pointed out something, and Adrian, thank you both. I guess you need an account in order to see that. So I'm so sorry, I didn't realize that, but it's a great thing to make an account for. Remember, it's free to make an account, and I guess that's one of the restrictions on Lab Exchange. If you don't have an account, you can't reach out to people for mentorship, but you should definitely consider it. Thank you again, Andrew and Adrian. All right, Joffrey in the lead.
Jeffrey is leading the board now.
Search mentorship on Lab Exchange. So back in the resource library, if you search mentorship, try to find a text article that's called Mentorship on Lab Exchange. And if you look in the description, you can see when it was added. So if you're curious about mentorship on Lab Exchange, come back to this article to learn more about it. Yep, so March 12th, 2020. I don't know if you remember yesterday, but we mentioned that Lab Exchange is new It's new as of January of this year. So we're very excited about this new free platform. All right. Nice. The same kind of top 3 is still in the lead. Okay. Search Danielle Tomasayo. Hope I said her name right. So search her in the Lab Exchange library. She wrote a narrative. What is her narrative titled? So a narrative is a story that someone has written about their education and their life to get to where they are today as a scientist. So there's a lot of examples of narratives, and it's just people who are telling you their story. Like what were they curious about? What school did they go to? What kind of jobs have they had? And what do they like about science? So that students like you can read them and get ideas about what you might be interested in. Great. Adrian?
For this question and the last one, it said that we needed a account again.
Can you, in the top left, make sure that you're in the library, the main resource library? If you're in the main library, you shouldn't need an account to search the library. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
All right. Great. All right, top 3 still. Nicole's up here. She might make it up. 2 more. How many narratives are in the Lab Exchange library? So my suggestion is to filter by content type. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody got that right. Great job. Okay, last question. How long is the video on narratives? So try searching narrative and find a video about narratives. If you find one, click it and see if you can find how long it is. About 15 seconds to get your answers in for the very last question. "36 seconds. Great. Look at our scoreboard. Smiley face number 3. Congratulations. Andrew number 2. Awesome job. Jeffrey! Great job, guys. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is pop into the chat box the answer key. So it had all the questions, all the answers, and the links to all of the resources that you had to look up in case you saw any content that you want to go back and review. So here we go. So that's a Google Doc, so you should be able to access it. Let me know if you can't, or maybe just connect to Una or post in your Discord channel if you can't, and I'll make sure you get that. Thank you so much for letting me join today. Again, kudos to you guys for joining this programming on your weekend. It just goes to show how dedicated you are about, expanding your knowledge, and great to meet you all today virtually. I hope you have a great hackathon event, and I'll pass it back to you, Una.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you very much for organizing the session yesterday on the Lab Exchange, as well as preparing all these questions so the kids can go and navigate and learn how to use the Lab Exchange platform. I'm sure they'll benefit from all the resources that are available there. Thank you very much, Ashley. And have a good evening, participants. Thank you so much for being involved with the hackathon and participating in all the sessions yesterday and today. And I hope you had a good time meeting your teams and also with the mentors today. So the next session is on 17th, October 17th, Saturday, which is our technical workshops on Flutter and HTML. So we will send you out the Zoom invites, and make sure you are, you can join both the sessions and learn from both the, learn both HTML and Flutter. So it's going to be on Saturday and Sunday, October 17th and 18th, and it's from 2 p.m. EST to 5 p.m. EST on both days. And then we have our actual hackathon on October 24th. So good luck to all of you, and we'll keep sending you communication. And yeah, all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm stopping the recording on the live stream.